Well, hello and welcome back. Or if this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Wayne and today I'm playing some more Wurm Online. I'm on the new Harmony server. This is the area just behind my deed. Oh look, there's a spider back there. Way up there on the mountain. Oh, I think there's another one right there. Can barely make it out. Harmony is 2 weeks old now. Already 2 weeks old. I'm really impressed by some of the progress that some people have made on this server. Just how quickly they've advanced in maybe some very specific skills. But that usually comes at the cost of ignoring other skills. But if you're in a village, I suppose you can do that. As you can see, I've been doing some work here. Flatten this whole area. I'm probably going to raise it up another 5 slope though. And that means I'll raise the tower too. By the way, if you don't know it, even after you've built a guard tower, you can raise the corners of it. And the way that I like to do it is I just like to go inside. And then just stand on each corner. And you can raise each corner if you like. I don't know if there is a limit to how extreme the slope can be while you're raising it, but it works out pretty well. Probably going to raise this a little bit higher. I've been hitting rock over here on the edges and I don't want to surface mine. The last time I did a video, I'm pretty much caught up now on videos. I was delayed a bit with quite a few of them, but I'm pretty much caught up. So that means I'll be uploading videos relatively soon within the time frame that I've recorded them. Of course, if you're watching this far into the future, that won't matter. But if you like to watch the videos within a day or two after release, then it may interest you to know that it's pretty much up to date. I'm just looking to see if there's anything up here I can see. Those 2 spiders still. So let's see, I was standing here, I think when I ended the last video, and there were some patches of dirt here marking out where I intended for the highway to be, and as you can see, a lot of work has been done. Also, this wasn't here. I built this free-range pen, and you can see they've already trampled some of the dirt. This has been a constant battle. I don't remember dirt getting trampled so often when I was on the Xanadu server. I'm wondering if this is in some way skill related, or maybe because it's freshly planted grass, it's too short and so it gets trampled more easily. I'm not sure. But as you can see, there are 2 newborns in there. There's this young horse. Wind Run was his RNG name. When you breed 2 wild-caught horses, or actually any 2 horses, then the resulting young horse is automatically named. It's a random name though. You don't get to pick it. And some of those names are great and some of them are not so great. But I think Wind Run is a pretty good name. Also over here you can barely make it out. There is a young lammy over there. And I got a few more in there that are pregnant. The highway system is actually pretty extensive. It goes all the way here, all the way through my deed. Let me see if we can see from over here. Runs all the way up to the top to the border of my deed, and then in the deed perimeter, the highway continues on all the way over to my neighbor Leafy, which then extends further to his neighbor Salvatos or Salvatos. I'm not sure how to pronounce his name. I should ask him. He's in my alliance. And then further on is Relo, and she just recently relocated, and she's pretty much on the beach now. And then in this direction, No Hero, and also the highway is extending through his deed and beyond, and all the way up to where this lake begins. And there's a real rough patch. There's a rough patch up there, and it's going to take some effort to get that sorted out. But there are several people working on it. Definitely a group effort, although I will admit that I haven't really done much with the highway beyond my neighbor's deed over here. I think Leafy and Hero did most of that work, and maybe Relo. Actually, I think everybody worked on it except for me. But in my defense, I do have a rather large deed here, and just the highway on here alone has been a lot of work. And I'm still working on it. And let's see what else. Now, this highway that extends up here to my perimeter is also connected to another alliance member back here, Criffus, and he's connected with the road, but I don't think he's going to actually pave out a highway to connect to it. And of course, a highway, this isn't technically a highway yet because there aren't any cat eyes on it. And so you can see here, between every tile there's a border, and between 4 there's a border corner. Is that what they call it? Let's see here. Oh, yeah. Oh, wow. Some bad luck for one of my alliance mates. Apparently, there was a cave-in his mine, and his alt is now trapped inside. But it's probably just a single stone tile, so it shouldn't be too difficult to resolve. If it's ore, though, that could be a problem. When there's a cave-in, there's always a chance that the cave-in could be an ore rather than stone. And if that's the case, you'll probably want a group effort to get rid of that ore. I'll have to see when he answers up here if he's going to need help with that or not. Otherwise, I'm going to keep on going with this video. So I won't... What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So there has to be a cat eye placed on every corner within the center of the 2-lane road, which constitutes a highway once the cat eyes are there. And the highway isn't just something that looks cool. It's a mechanical function. For starters, you move faster when you're on a paved road. Secondly, the highway system is utilized by the wagoner, which is an NPC, to deliver goods to other players. So you can pay the NPC wagoner just 1 copper, and then he'll come to your deed, or wherever you have a wagon container, and pick up the stuff that you're delivering and then deliver it to the other player. And then the other player will receive a notification of delivery, and then he'll be able to choose the container location that he wants to receive the goods at. So that can come in quite handy if you want to do bulk deliveries, because you can actually deliver a lot of stuff using that method. However, it doesn't work until you're actually connected to the highway system and the other people are connected to it as well. So it's definitely a server-wide group effort. But within each area of the server, the local residents will usually work together to hammer out the highway. And so that's what we've been doing. So far, so good. I might give you a tour of the highway at another time. It would probably be a pretty boring video if all I did was run along the highway to let you see it, especially since it's not even completed yet. But I will run up here just to give you a glance. So up to here, and then it turns. And it was actually a bit like a roller coaster here. It was up and then down a little bit. And we just today, myself and Hero, we just today came in here and flattened this out. And that's why you see sort of these extreme sides going on here. And over here, this side is my deed. And this marks my deed perimeter. And then my deed perimeter goes all the way over to, I think here. Is it here? Yeah, perimeter. And I think it ends here. Nope, still my perimeter. There we go. That's off of my perimeter. You know what? I'm going to go over all of this in this video. But not just this minute. I'll run down here just so you can get another glimpse of just how long this highway is. And mind you, you're only looking at a small portion of it. This goes on and on for quite a while. But you can see this goes down and then directly connects to Leafy's deed. Then he has something going on down here where I think he has it turning, and then it continues on. And then it connects to everybody over here, including the large group deed that is at the far end of the lake. I think it's called Anor. But anyway, so there's a glimpse of the highway. By the way, this is slate down here. We did find a slate mine, and we've claimed it as an alliance by tossing a mine door on there. And we've already mined out all of the slate. It turned out there wasn't that much in it. It was only, I think, around 534. And Leafy got the majority of it, and I got a little bit that was left over. I think I have enough to perhaps do slate floors. Oh my goodness, look at all the bee notifications. It's so important, apparently. They really want you to know there's bees around here, and I know all about the bee. There's a wild beehive over here, right there. And another alliance mate has built a beehive here. He's trying to tempt the queen into moving in, because he wants a beehive on his deed. And I don't know the entire process for this. I'll learn it someday. But that's basically what he's doing, because he wants a beehive on his deed, which is pretty cool that mechanic exists in the game. So, as mentioned in the title, this video is going to be all about deeds, which I guess I'm a little late doing this video. I mean, I know there are other videos. I think some of them are a bit dated, though. Oh, who do we have over here? Probably this guy right here, PYM, is cruising around in his rowboat, just enjoying his day on the lake. I can't tell if he's in a... Wait. I think he's in a village called Crimson something. I could barely catch it as it was flickering from mousing over from this distance. Anyway, so as I was saying, all about deeds. So pretty much all of my videos up to this point have been about what I've been doing on my deed. And that's to be expected. The server is just launched. And I'm actually not one to be glued to my deed. I know some people are. I know some people that play this game and they literally never leave their deed. I love to explore and wander around, and I've finally been able to do that. Even though I didn't want to take the time to do it just yet, I did. And because I was curious about a few things, mainly, are all the spots really taken up on the server? And you know what? They're not. And not only was I able to confirm this by cruising around a little bit, but also we had another land dispute issue with another alliance member further down here. With someone that was sort of messing things up for everyone else, and they've been rude, so a ticket was put in. And that GM mentioned to us that 80% of Harmony is still wild. What does that mean? I'll tell you what it means. Let me illustrate this. It means that if you log in here for the first time in Heartland or down here in Harmony Bay, and you decide to go in this direction from here to here, you're talking maybe 10 minutes. It's not that bad. It's mostly flat, pretty easy to get there. Up here, from here to here, maybe 20 minutes from here to here. Pretty easy as well. So if this is you and you pop in here and you're thinking, oh, here's a nice lake, I want to go live over there, there is no place to move in here. There were tons of people here, and now it's down to the victors. The only people that are left here are the people that won, the land battles and the claim battles, and even though they're not technically battles, there's still sort of a battle when you claim land, and based upon how much you can claim, based upon restrictions, we'll get to that later. And the people that are left here are basically the people that won all of those little mini battles. And there's literally no place. Now, there might be some place over here, but I very much doubt it. The bottom line is, if you pop in here and you go and you only run for 15 or 20 minutes and you think, oh, you're going to settle here, that's not going to happen. There's 1,000 people on the server, and yes, 80% of the server is still wilds. But a lake like this close to a starter town, no. Not at all. There is literally no room between my neighbors for anyone to deed. And you wouldn't want to anyway, even if there was just enough room for you to get a small deed in there. So there is lots of room still. So I was listening to all of these rumors of people saying, oh, there's no more room, everything's taken up. It's not true. It's just that all of the spots near the starter towns are taken up, and more specifically, the spots along the water. So all of these spots will be taken for sure. All of these spots here will be taken for sure. All of these spots are taken. I already know. If you look at this town, you definitely know all of this is taken all along the shoreline here. So if you're new and you're popping in and you're thinking, oh, the server is only 2 weeks old, there's still going to be plenty of spots. Keep in mind there are 1,000 people on this server. This Steam launch for Wurm Online is the most successful launch of a new server in the history of Wurm Online. Tons of people joined. Shall we see how many? Let's see how many people are on right now. There are 700 people on Harmony alone, 1,600. A few hours ago, I checked and it was around 2,000. But it's getting later now. It's getting into the evening. And so, there are fewer people are online now. So your best bet, if you're joining now, is to, whichever town you log in with, head to the coast and then just start checking all of the coastline. Don't be in a rush. You don't have to be. Take your time. Look around. Find something that you're really happy with and then deed there. I'll talk about this a little bit more as we go through the All About Deeds section. Let's start that right now. All About Deeds. So here we are on my deed currently. And let me see, how should I do this? I probably should have outlined this so I could articulate it very clearly. But I'm going to wing it. I'll wing it. If it turns out to be terrible, then I'll just redo it. If you're listening to me now and I'm saying this, then guess what? It's not that terrible. Because I decided to upload it anyway. Where should we start? How to get a deed? Okay. Let's start there. So let's see. There are 1, 2, 3 things you need to go. You know what? Wait. Let's stop. Let's back up a little bit. I should have written this down. It'll be okay. We'll get through it. What's a better play? How about we define a deed? Okay, here we go. What is a deed? A deed is a piece of land that you have claimed, that you have purchased, and you own it. So all of this area, I own. All that your eyes can see is our kingdom. Well, it's my kingdom. Not really a kingdom. And it's quite large. It's about 4 times larger than the deed that I have on Xanadu. And I wanted a large deed this time. So why do you want a deed? So if a deed is a piece of land you own, why would you want to own it? You can still go anywhere, right? You can still construct a house even if you don't have a deed, right? You can still tunnel into a rock surface and have a mine without a deed. You can still chop down trees. You can still grow crops. You can do all of these things without a deed. However, when you do so, that means other people can come and take your stuff. So if you leave something on the ground and it's not a deed and you're not next to it to show that you own it based upon your proximity, then anyone can just walk by and pick it up and walk away with it. And also, people can come and terraform the area that you might be living in if it's not deeded. They can terraform the land. They can dig a tunnel for a mine right in the spot you've been living at. And maybe you didn't want a mine right there. And they can also construct buildings right there if you don't own the land. So to prevent all of that from happening, people claim the land. So then it's yours. You terraform it. You decide what it's going to look like. You don't have to worry about people being able to destroy your fences or steal your stuff. It's all secure. This is based upon permissions, of course. But by default, deed permissions are set so that everything is protected. We'll look at permissions too. Now, let's see what else. Any other benefits? Actually, yes, with the deed, as long as you have, I believe, more than 30 days of upkeep paid for your deed, and we'll cover this, then you will have decay protection, meaning your fence won't decay, your fences won't decay. And if you have a building, your walls won't decay. I only have one building, and it's actually inside of this mine. I think I showed you the last time in my last video. I don't remember now. It's right here. Actually, maybe I didn't, because I didn't have it yet. It is Lay Sleep Shack. I only use it with the bed so I can sleep whenever I log off and get some sleep bonus. I currently have 58 minutes of sleep bonus, so we can say an hour. So that comes in helpful. There could be a cave in here. Oh, let me check my alliance mate. Okay, I just checked. I paused and spoke with him. I think he's okay. He's actually not sure exactly which wall has caved in his cave or his mine, so he's still trying to figure that out. But it won't be a challenge just to mine out a couple of tiles to figure it out. Anyway, so as I was saying, so these walls here, these walls won't decay. So that's another benefit that you get. Walls, fences, also these things right here, these bulk storage bins used for storing items. When you have items in them, they won't decay, but the bin itself can decay. And when it's completely decayed, then the contents of the bin will just spill out on the floor, and then they will start to decay. But with the deed, you have protection from that. The BSBs won't decay, and also I believe the food storage bin won't decay. I think most containers themselves won't decay. And some containers give you decay protection. Most containers at least reduce the rate of decay. And some of them just outright block it. So having decay resistance or no decay for your actual containers is really helpful on your deed as well. Let me see, is there anything else? Oh, actually, yes. I'm looking at it right now. When you have a deed, you can also brand your farm animals. And by branding them, it means they're marked as being owned by the name of your deed, in this case, Paul's Rest. So that can come in handy if one of your animals happens to get away or wanders off or something like that. But there's another benefit, because when you brand an animal, you can also give it a name. Now, I haven't branded any of my animals just yet, and I probably will sometime this next week. You just need a branding iron for it. They're pretty easy to make. By the way, when you go to your crafting menu, if there's something you want to know how to make, just click right here, and you can type in the name of it. So if you at least know the name of it, then you can look it up. So, for example, I just typed in brand, and then up came branding iron, and it tells you need a small anvil and an iron lump. So you can get an idea on how to craft anything, even if you're not familiar with it. You don't even have to go to the wiki, or you don't even have to ask. You can just type it in. Some items might be a little more difficult to find due to the nomenclature, but most items you can find. So anyway, as I was saying, you can brand your animals, and thus you can also name them. So that's another benefit of having a deed. Okay, so now let's talk about what... Actually, no. Not what you need. Let's talk about something else first. So that's what a deed is. Those are the benefits of deed. So what should your first step be in getting a deed? Well, obviously selecting a spot. So let's talk about that. This is actually a really important part. It's really pretty much a necessity that you're very much aware of the land situation where you're located in which you're interested in settling a deed. And the reason for that is because you need to know if there are other people living there, and how much land they have, and how much room you have to also settle a deed. You may find... Actually, I'll use my deed as an example, because this happens quite a lot here. So you'll get someone new that's joined the server. They'll spawn in that town. What's the name of that town again? Heartland. They'll spawn in Heartland, and they'll look at the map, and they'll think, oh, this is too close, too many people there. But this looks great. Probably no one living here, which is funny because this entire lake is filled up. Anyway, and so they think, oh, I'll go over here, and I'll live over here somewhere. So they run over here and then over here, and 15 or 20 minutes later, they are headed down this part of the highway. And obviously, when you see that someone's already done all of this, obviously you know there's someone in the area. And when you see how long this is, you'll probably think quite a few people in the area. And that's the case here. But then they'll run up here and they'll see this. And they'll say, okay, well, someone has pins. I can see a tower, a tent, some stuff over here, some signs of someone living here. And of course, there's a deed token right there, which is a sure sign of land ownership. And then they'll look over here and they'll go, oh, I don't see anything over there, though. So that means they're only living here. So I could go right over here and live on top of this hill. Well, even if you could, that would be way too close. You would definitely want to talk to whoever lives here first before doing that. I won't even get into all of the issues that arise from moving in too close, but suffice it to say that the most obvious one is that there should be some space between every deed. In fact, you have to have space, at least 10 tiles. And that's the minimum. You can actually claim your deed in such a way that that will require even greater distance between your border. And we'll get into that. The point I'm making is that if you're a new player, the idea of scope in this game may be a little skewed. You may think that if someone is living here, then to live up here is perfectly fine, but it isn't. It's actually bad for both of you because it's very little room. Now, I kind of consider my deed to be large, but a lot of people have a deed that costs them between 5 and 10 silver per month, and we'll get into costs too. My deed is under 5 silver per month. I'm at about 4.5 silver per month right now. Silver, what does silver cost? If you go to the shop and buy silver, it actually depends on how much silver you purchase. The more you purchase, the cheaper it is per silver. But I think if you average it out, it's about $1.25 for every silver, or I mean for every silver. So if you have a deed that will cost you 4 silver per month, then you're paying about $5 per month. So this deed is actually small when you compare it to a lot of people that have something between 5 silver and 10 silver per month that they're paying for their deeds, which is double the size, more than double the size of my deed. Okay, I thought I had paused when I was returning that wave, but I guess not. So then I also took a look at my alliance mate. Now he's in the dark. He's got a whole adventure going on now just because he had a cave-in. That's what Wurm does to you. Wurm can throw some very interesting circumstances your way. And there's another blood brother. See, his name is Blood Priest. There's quite a few bloods on the server, which surprises me. So the point I'm making is that if you're looking for a place to deed and you find a spot that kind of looks like it's empty, and yet it's this close, it's probably not a good choice. You're probably just going to upset whoever lives there if you move in right next door to him. And in this case, if you did this, you'd actually be squeezing yourself in between 2 deeds. However, that being said, you can't even really rely upon that because just looking up here and seeing that it appears to be empty doesn't mean that it's not owned. And in fact, I own all of this. All of this forest right here is part of my deed, and it goes quite a ways back there and quite a ways over here towards Leafy, and there's very little space between us. There isn't any room for anyone to place a deed between myself and Leafy, and there is also not enough space between myself and Criffus back here to place a deed, and there also isn't enough space between myself and Hero to place a deed. So this forested nook here is completely filled up. Honestly, I wish there were more space between our deeds because animals won't spawn on a deed, only in wild area. So the greater distance between deeds, the better, because then you'll get more spawns in the area, aggressive and also farm animals. And sometimes it can be difficult to get the animals you want if there aren't any areas for them to spawn in, or if it's just a really small area, like the minimum amount of space between deeds, which is 10 tiles. Now, if let's say that you just don't feel like you should run more than 15 minutes to find a spot, and you just think, yeah, but I just want here, I don't feel like traveling anymore. Well, you're really missing out, first of all, because there's a lot of really good spots. I mean, some really good spots that are way better than this. And I kind of wish I could get them, to tell you the truth, but I've already spent like about 22 silver to claim everything that I have, and if I were to undeed and go somewhere else, then I'm losing all of that money, and I don't want to waste the money. So instead, I'm going to just make do with what I have, and I'll turn it into something that I really love. There's always that option. Even if you get a spot that maybe you realize later wasn't the best spot, you can always terraform it. It may require a lot of work, maybe, but there's always that option. And as your skills go up, you'll be able to terraform more. But if you did think, oh, wow, I really want to be right next to this guy, that sort of happened with me, because I had my eye on this area from before the server launch, the day before when I was looking at the map. But Hero had already settled right over here on the other side of this mountain. And I knew that that was too close for me to just plop down unannounced. So I did speak with him, and we talked about it a little bit, and he was perfectly fine. He told me to go crazy over here, whatever I wanted to do. But his deed has sort of special circumstances because it's a private nook nestled in between these mountains. You can't see it from here, but I think you've seen it in other videos. He actually has, I think, probably the best deed on the lake because of how he has sort of like these privacy mountains around him, and yet he still has lakeside property. But the point I'm making here is that if you did, for whatever reason, maybe the circumstances were good, want to build close to someone, just talk to them first. Don't just assume that everything will be okay. And if you talk to them, then they will immediately have respect for you in most cases, because it's the people that deed right next to you that don't speak with you. Those are the people that usually upset others. It's not talking to someone that's bad. It's when you don't talk to someone. So every once in a while, someone does come through here and they'll ask me, is there any place near here? Because I kind of like this spot. And I'm so happy that they asked, even though I have to tell them, no, there's no space for a deed here. But I'm so happy that they've asked. I'll help them. I'll say, I'll help you find a spot. I know of some places, and I'll let them know. And I don't know, I've done that a couple of times, and I don't know if someone actually gone there and taken those spots or not. I need to explore again, I guess. But I'll give some tips and advice. I'll stop everything I'm doing to help you. But on the other hand, if you just come in and you drop a tent right outside of my border and start digging and start chopping down trees and you're not saying a word, I'm probably not going to help you. And I'm probably going to ask you, what are you doing? Why are you on my doorstep and terraforming and making a mess when I'm right here? And would you like that if someone did it to you? Usually the answer is no. I've seen quite a few people streaming too, and they'll talk about this. They'll comment. I saw one streamer recently, and they were boating by a deed, and they noticed that someone had plopped down a tent really close, and they made the comment, oh, that's not a good idea, guys. Don't do that. You know, this guy's probably not going to be too happy to see this guy camping in his front yard. I'll talk about that a little bit after All About Deeds part. We'll discuss etiquette, because even though etiquette isn't a mechanical rule in the game, it really does govern everything that you do, especially when you're near others. So try to find a spot that's well removed from others. Make sure there's plenty of wiggle room for them and yourself, because when you claim a deed, you may want to resize it later. You may want to grow a little bit. It's hard to tell sometimes exactly what you're going to do in the beginning. And as you continue to play and grow, you may come to realize that your tiny little 4x4 tile animal pen isn't enough. And you may realize that you want something like this. And if there isn't any room to expand, then you're stuck. And also now your neighbor is also stuck because he can't expand because you plop down right there near him or her. So consider carefully where you want to claim. And actually, I missed a really important part here. You'll always want to keep an eye down here on the event tab because it will let you know when you've entered claimed land or not. I'll show you. I'll run down here to just outside of my border. Here's my border. This is my tile. This is my perimeter. And if you look right here, it says you leave Paul's Rest. And if I do this, you enter Paul's Rest. So you keep an eye on your event tab. And even when you're in an area that hasn't been developed at all, you'll still know if you're on someone's property or not. And even this perimeter, you don't want to come here either. Look, if I go all the way here, 3 tiles over, and I double click this, it says this is within the perimeter of Paul's Rest. So you still shouldn't just go right up to someone's border and then do stuff here. That's a big no-no. You definitely upset people if you do that. But this is that space that I mentioned before. There has to be at least 5 tiles around your border that's called a perimeter. And people can't build here. But people can terraform here. And people can make it ugly and wreck it and clear cut all the trees. And that will generally make people upset. A perimeter isn't owned, but it is considered owned by everyone because everyone has a perimeter. And when you purchase a deed and then you have your perimeter on the outside, that's at least 5 tiles, you consider it yours. Everyone considers their perimeter theirs. So keep an eye on that too. If you happen to miss the event tab, you can always check it anytime. Just stop wherever you are, look at the ground, double click that tile, and it will tell you if you're in a village or a perimeter. But don't even be satisfied with that. Make sure you know the full border. Run around it. Get an idea of the size and scope of that deed so you have a better idea of where you would have to deed if you wanted a deed near there. Hopefully you'd want a deed far. How far away should you deed next to someone else's border? It's a real tough question. A lot of people would say at least 50 tiles. At least 50 tiles. And maybe you think that's a lot of space. It's really not. I would say as a bare minimum, 20 tiles. Mechanically, there has to be at least 10 tiles. But that's just the mechanical limit. But it's not the courtesy limit. I say 20, and I know vets that are listening to me say at least 20 are rolling their eyes right now saying, no, at least 50. The more, the better. But you can't always have more because there is a limited amount of space. Just keep in mind, guys, on Harmony, 80% of the world is still wild. It's okay. You can walk for more than 15 minutes. I spent a week on Xanadu doing nothing but exploring for a spot that I wanted to claim. It's okay to take your time. Wurm is a game of patience. You don't rush this. This is a chill game. There's no need to rush anything. The rush was when on the day that the server opened, okay? That was the land rush. That's over. So now you can take your time to find the spot you really want. Okay, so what's the summary of this? When looking for a spot, look for a spot that's not too close to other people. Give them plenty of space. Consider other deeds. Consider the space you need to have between, and also expansion in the future, either for yourself or for others. If you place in a way that means no one can expand, everybody's upset. So then what? Let's say you've found a spot and you've done all of that and you've done your homework and there is someone there but he's not close, and you talk to him anyway and everything's good, no issues at all. Well, now you need to find the specific tile that you want for your settlement token to rest upon when you claim. And then you'll stand on that tile. And then you'll look in your inventory and you'll look for this item called, what's this thing called again? I think it's called a deed stake. Yeah, a deed stake. All new players have a deed stake in their inventory. If you've lost yours somehow, it's okay. You can make them. They're really easy. Just grab a carving knife and a shaft, and you can carve yourself a deed stake. The deed stake is the item that you need to claim your land. Actually, now let's start where I began when I first started this. What do you need to actually claim a deed? You need the deed stake. You need to be premium. You need a proper location, hence the last 20 minutes of me speaking. And finally, you need 4.21 silver, or 4 silver and 21 copper. At least 4.21 silver. That's to settle the smallest deed possible. So once you have all of those things, choose the tile that you want your deed token to be on, and then you'll right-click on your deed stake and select Use. And I can't do it because I don't have a deed stake, but I'll show you what it looks like. It basically looks like this. You'll then be stepped through several stages of the process required to claim your deed. It is a bit involved, but it's really not complicated at all. It just sort of seems like it. See, it says Stage 1, the size of your settlement. And it has all these notes in here. This is the main settlement, not the perimeter. In other words, the actual piece of land that you will own. And it tells you to enter numbers in the boxes below to declare the size of your deed. That will be the size in north, south, east, west direction in the number of tiles from the tile you're currently standing on. By default, each one of these fields will have the number 5 in them. So that means that if you were standing here and claiming the minimum size, that you would claim 5 tiles in this direction, 5 tiles in this direction, and this direction. So that would be a settlement size of an 11 by 11, because 5 in this direction plus 5 in this direction is 10, plus the tile you're on is 11. The cost per tile is 1 copper. 1 copper per tile. So if you multiply 11 by 11, you get 121, and that's why the cost is 1.21 silver, but you actually need 4.21. That's because when you settle your claim, you will also be paying for the upkeep for the first 3 months, which is a minimum of 1 silver. So does it actually say that in here? Let's look. 1 tile costs 1 copper initially. Every month the upkeep per tile is 20 iron. So that's pretty cheap. The upkeep is pretty cheap. Now, you may be grumbling about this. Maybe you're thinking, why do I have to pay every month? That's lame, man. I just want to buy it once. Well, the problem with that, of course, is if you could just buy it once and then forget about it and then quit the game, that means you're now occupying a piece of land that no one else can ever occupy for the life of that server. And I'm sure you may have been in other circumstances in which maybe in another game you weren't able to do that, and it's lame. So that's why there's an upkeep. Now, do you have to actually be actively playing the game to keep your deed? No, you don't, because you can pay your upkeep in advance. And I used to think 1 year in advance was good, but a lot of players say at least 2 years in advance. It's up to you. You could just do a couple of months in advance if you wanted to. It's only a silver for the smallest deed, and a silver is basically worth $1.25. Okay, so let's look at this some more. That's stage 1. I'm not going to read through all of this. It does talk about having enough money on you and permission for. There are some restrictions. Let's talk about that. There are some circumstances that will prevent you from being able to deed. One of those is if you run into the perimeter of another deed. Simply won't let you deed there. It'll tell you there's someone else too close here. It will even give you the name of the deed. Also, if there is a building there, even if it's not on deed, but someone has constructed a building. So, for example, I have a deed in this mine. If I hadn't claimed this area and someone wanted to put a deed token here and they wanted to claim far enough in this direction to include my building, which is right there, they wouldn't be able to do it because you can't deed over an existing building, even if that building isn't on a deed. What you can do, however, is claim right up next to it, which means that building would fall within your perimeter. And then whoever owns that building cannot repair that building. Does that create maybe some strife for someone if they're living there off deed? Yes, it does. Technically, you're in the okay because you're actually purchasing the land and that individual is actually squatting on the land, which isn't illegal. I'll give you one little tip. If you want to be a squatter, if you don't want to pay for a deed and you want to squat, meaning you want to build a house somewhere and not pay for the land, let me give you a little tip. Get away from everyone. Definitely don't put yourself on a lake or even on next to shoreline or coastline, because water property is what everyone likes the most. You want to be out of the way of everyone. Go find a mountain or some big wooded area and go way back in there as deep as you can and build yourself a mine, and in the mine construct a building and live in there. Then put a mine door up, do something like that. Now, I'm not saying this to tell you that you can't live next to people. I'm saying this because if you're squatting, then you can easily lose everything if someone comes in and decides to purchase that area. Oh, but you just said you can't deed over a building. Yes, that's correct, but they can deed right up to your building. And once your building is within their perimeter, you can no longer repair your walls. That means the life of your building is now limited. You only have so much time before your building will decay to nothing and you can't do anything to stop it. And good news, everyone. He found freedom. He managed to get himself out of his mine after one of the tiles collapsed. Good for him. Okay, where was I? Oh yes, the dangers of squatting. So that's why I say if you're going to squat, don't go someplace that's going to be super popular for others, because they're just going to deed there and push you out. Yes, it kind of sucks that there's, mechanics that allow for you to build, but also mechanics to allow for someone that wants to own that land to push you out. But that's kind of the way it is, The developers have to make money. This is a business after all. And part of the way that they earn money is by letting people purchase land. Okay, let me see. What else will prevent you from expanding? Oh, yes. If there is an aggressive creature within the area you want to claim, it won't let you claim it. You have to first get rid of that creature. Now, this is one of the reasons why I didn't deed everything that I wanted at first. Mainly because there was an old troll right up here walking around, and believe me, I had one eye on everything I was doing the whole time and one eye on that troll the whole time too. Keeping an eye on him, because an old troll could easily beat, I think, just one Templar that you can hire at the beginning. We'll go over that too. So anyway, there may be lots of reasons why you would want to resize later, but just remember, you don't have to have the exact shape and size of your deed from the moment you claim it. You can always go in and resize it. You just go here and you go to settlement and you go to resize. That's actually the window I'm in right now. But I think it's pretty much the same for you that you would see whenever you first went to settle when you use your deed stake. Let me see. Anything else in here? I think that's good. So after you have your initial distance from the token settled upon here, you click Survey Area. And then when you click Survey Area, you'll get markers that appear all the way around the area that you're wanting to claim. And the markers stand on your, or what will be your property. So let me run down here. And I'll show you what I mean. So deed. So this is on the border, meaning this I would own if I were to claim it. And actually, I do currently claim it. And then here would be the first tile of your perimeter. Note, you can move around when you're settling too. You don't have to stand in that spot. You can run around. You can check out the borders. You can check out the corners to see exactly what you're claiming. And sometimes it's not that easy to see from the location of your token or where your token will be. Maybe there's thick woods there or hills, so you may want to run around to get a visual of it. So that's basically what I'm doing now. You can do that when you create your deed and also when you resize it. So the next part, here we are now, we're stage 2. And now it's telling you to select the size of your perimeter. So by default, you're given 5 free tiles as your perimeter. But you can pay for more if you want. How much does it cost? Does it say in here? Yeah, it's right here. The minimum perimeter size is 5, and that's all the way around, which comes at no cost. You may pay to extend this if you wish. The current cost is 50 iron per tile. So a perimeter costs half as much as it does to purchase it. I would say just purchase it rather than have a large, unless you're trying to claim a really large area and it's getting really expensive, I'd say just go ahead and claim a border. Also, you can't control the perimeter on each side. If you put a 10 here, it's 10 on every side. Whereas when you put in your border size, you can specify in each direction. So if you're claiming the minimum, which is an 11 by 11, obviously that's a perfect square. Does it have to be a square? No, it doesn't. It can be a rectangle. However, the long side of the rectangle cannot be more than twice as long as the short side of that rectangle. This is to prevent people from doing, a 5 by 100 or something like that and trying to claim a really long strip so that no one else would want to claim in that area. Okay, what's next here? So after you select your perimeter size, I'm just going to leave it at 5. Then click Survey again. And let me minimize this again. By the way, don't click this. I know it looks like a minimize button, but it's not. So that's why I've been resizing rather than clicking that little minimize icon. So what's next? Now we're on stage 3, naming your deed, and you put that right here. Note, if you want to change the name later, you can, but it's going to cost you an extra 5 silver. I totally forgot about the settlement motto. This is the default saying, a settlement like no other. Now I'll come up with something later. I don't know what. This is a political thing. Make this a democracy. That means you can be voted out, by the way, as the mayor. So I wouldn't suggest doing that. Maybe if you're having a really large village with lots of people in there and you really want to, coax people into joining, maybe you could do that. But I still wouldn't do that. Then after you've selected your name, then click Save This Name. And then we're on, does it say next stage? Doesn't say next stage. Whatever. And this page, you get to hire guards if you want. Now these guards are different than the guards that appear. Where's my guards? It's different than the guards that are spawned by the guard tower. The guard tower will spawn 1 guard for every 10 QL of the guard tower. These guards are actually called Spirit Templars. They should actually change the name so there's a little bit less confusion there. And while they're at it, they should make that work too. All that does is lock the window. It doesn't actually minimize it, and then you can't unlock it. But I'm not complaining. Yes, I am. Okay. So you can hire these Spirit Templars. It costs 2 silver plus 1 silver per month. And if you're first starting out and you're remote, meaning there's no one else near you with guard towers, you might want to go ahead and hire a Spirit Templar. That'll help you out a lot. If anything aggressive enters your deed, they'll sound the alarm, or it will sound the alarm and then go run off and kill them, assuming that it can. If it's something really tough, he may not be able to kill it on his own. You may need to try to help. But anyway, so there you can hire some Spirit Templars if you want. Then when you're done, just click Save the Number of Guards. You can always get rid of him later, by the way. You can actually... I think in the last video I mentioned that I didn't know how to fire Spirit Templar because I had never hired them before. But you could go into here after you hired them into the resize and then set this to 0 and save it and fire them that way. But someone else posted, I think his name was MR, and he said all you have to do is go to your settlement token and to go to manage guards. That seems like it's far more intuitive. I guess I would have known that if I actually looked at all of the options on here. There are lots of options in here, but I'm not going over all of them. I'm just going over the deeds for now. So once you decide how many guards you want to hire, 0 for example, click Save the Number of Guards. And then you're on the final page. It'll say check your settings, and it goes over everything. It'll tell you you've selected a settlement size of 46 by 49. And it will tell you how much you're paying for it. Now, I haven't actually changed the size of mine because I'm in resize mode. So I'm not actually getting charged anything additional for any additional tiles that I would have claimed. But it does show you what the monthly upkeep and cost will be. So for me, it's 4.5 silver, and that's per month. So we're looking at just a little over $5 per month, which pretty cheap. So I think you can understand why a lot of people have deeds that are between 5 silver and 10 silver. It's not that much. It's like for the cost of a Happy Meal or something. I don't know. I know those value meals have been getting more expensive over the years. I don't really eat at those fast food places much, so I'm not sure how much they cost. But basically for the price of a value meal at a fast food place, you can have a decently sized deed in Wurm Online. And then you just read through everything, make sure it's exactly what you want. And then down here it'll say, well, it won't say resize settlement for you. It'll say like buy settlement or something like that, or maybe claim settlement. I don't know exactly. And then you will be the proud new owner of a deed, your own land that you can edit, you can terraform, you can raise animals, you can leave piles of dirt, although I wouldn't recommend this. Piles of dirt will decay. You should put them in a BSB. I just finished working on the highway up there, myself and an alliance mate, so I haven't got around to putting them in BSBs. They don't decay immediately, so I have a little bit of time. Definitely sometime between today and tomorrow, I should get them in a bulk storage bin. Don't waste dirt. Dirt is extremely valuable. People need it for terraforming and for raising terraces and covering rock and for building docks. And generally, the price it will sell for is around 10 copper per 100. You know what? I'm reminded of another question that I see often in CA Help. And the question is, can I earn enough money in-game to go premium and purchase a deed? The short answer to that is yes, but you might not want to. You know what I'll do? That my next video, I'll have a segment in there for how to earn money in Wurm Online. And because I'm already up to about an hour and I still want to look at permissions. So in the next video, how to make money. So once you have your deed, you then have to consider permissions. And the way you set permissions is just go in and settlement and down to manage roles. And here you can set permissions for non-citizens, anyone that's not a member of your deed. For citizens, those are people that are members of your deed. For allies, if you're in an alliance, like myself. And you can also add individual players. You would just go to add role. And then up here, you would give the role a name. I usually just use the name of the person. And then you put in the player name. You can also add a role for an entire village if you want. Just put in the village name here. Okay, but I'm not going to add a role. Let me go back. So more than likely, you'll be looking at citizen roles, permissions, and non-citizens. But let me just let you know right now that by default, all permissions are not allowed or not selected for non-citizens. So you don't have to worry about going in to make sure people can't do things on your deed like drop items or pick up items or push items to troll you or plant stuff or chop down trees or terraform. Some things you simply cannot permit them to do. Those are indicated by this little graphical X. No matter, even if you wanted to, you cannot allow non-citizens to brand. It says right there, only for citizen type roles. So if you're curious what this means you can't even give them non-citizens permission even if you wanted to. I'm not going to go through all of these, but for the most part, I think it's kind of self-explanatory. You can just look at what it is and figure it out. Now, you may notice that I do actually have one selected for non-citizens, so anyone can do this. I'm giving access to what are known as resource tiles, clay, tar, peat, and moss. And the reason I'm doing that is because there's no chance of them really trolling me or messing up my deed by giving those permissions. And I'm doing it here because I actually have 3 tile nodes on my deed. And it may be that someone, not my immediate neighbors, because all of my immediate neighbors have clay too, but I'll tell you who doesn't have clay. Actually, I do have one immediate neighbor that doesn't, and that's Criffus back here in the woods. He does not have access to clay back there. So if I didn't allow for non-citizens or allies, in this case, to dig from my clay, then they would just be out of luck. And if all of the clay on the server was claimed and no one let others dig from it, then some guys would be really out of luck. And you can actually see someone was digging here recently and they left a bit of clay here. But there's no danger in this. Clay tiles and tiles like tar are special resource tiles. It's really difficult to deplete them. I would say impossible. Because in order to lower this slope of this border by just 1 dirt level, you have to dig down, I think it's either 50 or 100 times. And that would be a lot of work. And then all I have to do is walk over and drop 1 dirt and raise it right back up. So it's a lot of work to dig it down and very easy to bring it right back up. The trick is, if you need clay and your neighbors are sharing it as a public resource, don't go to the edge of the clay and dig. Like, don't go here. And you're thinking, okay, I'm on the clay tile, because when you try to dig here, you won't be permitted to, even if they're allowing you to dig into clay. And the reason for that is because it happens to be bordering a non-clay tile. So if you were to dig down here and it eventually moved it down a little bit, that would also move it down a little bit for this corner of that tile. So instead, you want to go to one of these internal. And you can see someone knew that. So they have their clay right here, and they knew that, and so they were standing right here surrounded by clay to do their digging. And you don't even have to allow for them to use the pickup option, because when they dig, even if they're digging to a pile like this, it's proximity owned, meaning simply because that person dug it up and then it dropped right next to them by default, that player owns it and no one else. Even I, as the deed owner, can't walk over here and grab that clay while they're still there next to it. They would have to leave the area for a while, and then I could grab it. And you want to be real careful with drop, though. Don't let people drop stuff, because people will drop stuff on your deed and then walk away from it, maybe to do something, and then go, oh yeah, I wanted that, and they'll go back to get it, and then they won't be able to pick it up because it's no longer owned by them via proximity mode. And in a way, I wouldn't call it stealing in a way. I think some people have done this in the past as a way to troll. They'll let you drop items but won't let you pick up items, and that's definitely lacking etiquette. I wouldn't do anything like that. But of course, you can also set your settings to allow for other things, or your permissions to allow for other things if you wish. That is entirely up to you. Oh my goodness, I am almost, look at my food level. I'm down to 9%. If I let it get, like I think maybe 2% more, then I am going to lose a fat layer. So I'm going to pause it right now and cook real quick. Oh yeah, I'm definitely nervous here. It's down to 8%. I think it can, I think anywhere between maybe 1% and 8% can cause you to fast. And when you fast, it uses up one of your fat layers. And you want to always keep your fat layers at max, your character fat layers. This isn't going to be a food video, but since this has happened, I'll just bring it up. I'm real nervous here. Oh man, it just dropped to 7%. Oh, this needs to cook in a hurry. Let's get these going. All right. Let me chop the pumpkin. I'll probably not even do a meal. I'll do 2 meals and then I'll just fry this beef and then just eat it as is. Even though that's not very nutritional to just eat meat and nothing else, I'll do it anyway just to fill my... Oh, I'm too late. Where's the event? Where did it happen? It should say in here, like you fast or something like that. Here it is. Your hunger goes away as you fast. And it sounds like a good thing, right? You're thinking, oh good, I'm not hungry anymore. And oh look, my food bar is way up here now. That's great, but it's not great at all because you're losing a fat layer. If you pull up your paper doll and I think you go here and examine. Wait, is this not working? Oh, it's going to be down here. Here it is. He is strong and has a good reserve of fat. But a good reserve of fat isn't, I don't think that's the max level of fat. I don't remember the exact description, but I think this is 1 layer of fat below the max. But you can look that up on the wiki. Many things like that in the game are like that. They give you a description rather than a value, and then you have to kind of figure out if the description is good or not. All right, well, I don't have to bother with eating just the raw fried steak now. I can actually make them all meals. Let me do this. I'll eat, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I did eat. I did lose a fat layer and some nutrition, quite a bit of nutrition. I think I had it around 73, dropped down to 55%, but that's okay. What is lost in the fire is found in the ashes, and in Wurm Online, anything you lose can always be found again or created again. So you never lose anything permanently. At least I don't think so. If I'm wrong, someone correct me, but I don't think so. So what's left? One last little thing that I want to mention. By the way, the reason this is up is because a few people that I had not recognized before were walking through. So what I do, as a courtesy, I plop that up so that they can see my border without, if they were interested in the area, they don't have to go around and try to figure it out. They can very clearly see right from where they are, where my border is. Anyway, the reason I do that, and this is actually part of the next part, the final part of this video, and I'll try to make this brief, just a few minutes. Etiquette. Respect and courtesy that you show others and deed owners. The same type of courtesy that you would like to see people extend to you. For example, you come upon deeds and you are... Oh, wait, let me look at this. You come upon a deed and don't just assume that it's... even if you're not trying to live there, maybe you just want to settle in, maybe check out the area a little bit as you're exploring. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe you are trying to, I don't know, maybe you need to start a campfire because you need to make some food and you don't have any wood. So you want to chop down a tree. That's not on deed, but right next to the deed. That's okay. That's fine. You're resource gathering. It's not like you need to chop down an entire forest, though. resource gathering for the purpose of actually, living and playing in a game is perfectly fine when you're just passing through. But what isn't okay is to go between deeds or right next to a deed and start clear-cutting the forest because you're trying to grind your skill, or terraforming everything around it so you can get your digging skill up. That isn't okay. So even though the rules are mechanical in that you can do these things within the perimeter of a deed, you yourself will consider your own perimeter as your property too, as all others do. I don't know a single person in this game, been playing since 2017, that does not regard their perimeter as their property. And even if you don't, you still wouldn't want to go right outside of their deed, or even right outside of their perimeter, or even within 20 or 50 tiles and start clear-cutting the entire forest. And this has happened quite a few times here. Quite a few people have been here that lack that etiquette. And some of them have been open to learning. I've taken the time to explain it. Some of them were reluctant and wanted to debate it. My suggestion is, don't be one of those guys. Show etiquette. If you want to get your skill up for digging, go claim a piece of land and terraform your own land. That's a great way to get your digging skill up. If you want to get your chopping skill up, same thing. Go claim some land and chop some trees there, or the trees in your own perimeter, or nearby you. Then that's perfectly fine. Why? Because you live there. But in your travels, while looking for a deed or just exploring, show some courtesy to the people that do live there. And think about what you would want. This is the old golden rule. Would you want someone coming near your deed and clear-cutting all of the trees there and then just leaving them lay there? They're not resource gathering. They're just grinding their skill. And the reason they're doing it near you is because they don't want to do it near them. Have some etiquette. Show some respect for other deed owners and even people that aren't deed owners. And if this happens to you as a deed owner, give them a chance. Talk to them a little bit. Don't just run up with attitude from the minute. Trust me, I have a hard time biting my tongue sometimes, especially considering the number of times this has happened here. And it's happened a lot. But I still make it a point to be courteous and say, hey, try to come up with a way to explain to them without being rude that what they're doing is lacking etiquette. And then, just explain it. Look at it this way. If you've ever gone to a park that was pretty much empty, maybe it was early, and you got a little spot to set up, maybe you grabbed one of the picnic tables, and maybe you're there with a couple of friends or family or something, and the whole park is pretty much empty. And then someone comes over and they plop down right next to you. You make that face, right? You look at your friends and you make those eyes and you're like, check out this guy. Why? There's so much space. Now, can they do it? Is it legal? Sure, it's legal. It's perfectly legal. But is it courteous? No, it's not courteous at all. And there's no mechanical rule here in terms of exercising courtesy. This is something either you have or you don't. If that example doesn't work for you, how about the bus? You ever take the bus? You ever be on the bus when there's not very many people on it and someone gets on, and rather than choose any of the any number of seats that are available in between the few that are taken, someone decides to plop down right next to you? That's lack of courtesy. It's the same here. And if you've decided that you're done playing for the day and you happen to be between two deeds and they're nearby, maybe look a little bit more to see if there's a better spot for you to place your tent. And definitely don't set up camp right there next to someone, nearby someone, and start grinding your skills to dig, terraform, or tunnel. I'll show you an example of what not to do. I have actually several examples that I could show you. Many examples in the area. And believe me, when you're in the area and we see what you're doing, everyone in the Alliance is talking about you. Everyone is remembering your name, who you are, and what you've done. And nobody will really have anything to do with you. You want to make friends here, not enemies, and it's really easy to do by showing courtesy. So someone did this. This was literally in my perimeter. You can see it is currently on my deed. I expanded my deed a little bit more in order to deal with stuff like this happening all the time, because people are only looking at the woods and they don't think to do this, to check to see, oh, I'm in someone's village, or where actually they can't do it in a village, but within their perimeter, or even nearby a perimeter. Numerous examples of this. There was some clear cutting going on over here. You can see, look at the wasted. They didn't even use the logs. They just chopped down the trees and left them there. Then I tried to explain it to them, and then they said, okay, I'll be on my way. And then they went over here on the other side of my border and did it over there. And then I had words with them, and then they went back here and did it next to Criffus, and then Criffus had words with them. So don't be one of those guys. Be courteous. Not, like I said, 80% of the world is still wild. There's plenty of space available for you. Go get it. There's no reason to set up camp right next to people and terraform or try to deed in between or any of that stuff. So, with that in mind, I know there's probably some details about deeds that I left out. Actually, I remember one right now. I'll show you one last thing. Let me pull up my UI again. Everything that I've been showing you so far has required you to go to the deed token, the settlement token, and right-click it. However, you don't need to do that. You can do these things from anywhere. All you have to do is open up your inventory, right-click your inventory, go to Manage, and then you'll see lots of things you can do here. I might cover some of these other things at another time, but if you go down here to Settlement, the same options that were available to you before at the Settlement token are available to here as well, including Resize, Manage Roles. So even if you weren't here, but you had a friend on your deed, maybe they just showed up and they say, hey, I'm on your deed, but I don't have permissions, and you're thinking, oh no, I'm like an hour away. It's okay. You don't have to be there. Just go here and you can give them permission from wherever you are in the world. So I think that's going to do it. There's probably some missing details, but you definitely have, the majority of the information that you need in order to go out there. Don't be afraid to play around with the deed stake. You don't have to claim once you pull it out. Maybe you just want to get an idea. That's fine. Maybe the idea doesn't look as great as maybe you thought it did. That's fine too. Just move on and look for another spot. And I'll leave it there with the night sky. Looks kind of nice. I don't really have any lights yet. I should put some lamps on my deed. But look at that big sky. I still can't get over it. Because on Xanadu, the tall mountains often really do sort of block the sky. But here, at first I wasn't that happy with how flat everything looked. But now, when you consider how big the sky is as a result of that, I kind of love it. It's pretty cool. So there you have it. If you do have any specific questions about deeds, you can ask right here on this video as a comment if you want. You can also just jump in CA Help and ask. There's always a bunch of people in there that will really be happy to answer your question. There are often people in there competing to see who can answer your question the first even. So take full advantage of that. Sometimes even I still learn things from CA Help. Been playing since 2017 off and on. Sometimes I still just lurk CA Help because people sometimes ask questions that I had never thought of. And I learn stuff just by lurking CA Help. So don't be afraid to go there and ask questions as well, especially about deeds. That's it. Thanks a ton for watching. And next video, how to earn money. I'll see you then.